Oh, I'm Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter, taking you today to the beautiful mountainous state of Chiapas, the southernmost state in Mexico. We're going first to Tuxtla Gutierrez, a place that I have seen posted in the airport as a destination in Mexico City and wondered what it was, where it was. Well, we're going there and take a look. And after that, we're going to San Cristobal Las Casas, high in the mountains, with a very, very traditional Indian culture. You'll see the people wearing their native dress. You'll see people engaged in selling the way they do in any markets and all the beautiful things they have for sale. So enjoy our trip to Chiapas. Let's go. Acapulco, the very touristy part of the state that all of you have heard about, of the country of Mexico, to a very southern state called Chiapas. One of the least known, the least visited by Americans, least touristy, and very beautiful. We're going on the river that's called the Grijalva River, and we're going up to a beautiful canyon. At least they tell us it's beautiful. We're going to take a look, and we'll all find out together. Let's go. We're starting now up the river on our trip into the Sumadero Canyon, it's called. We're going up to the dam and back again. It's going to take us about 2 hours, but certainly not, you don't have to see it all. These canyon walls rise very steeply from the river as the result of really probably millions of years of erosion. And you can see the beautiful scenery as we head up the river. Every time we turn a bend, it seems, the scenery changes. These walls rise sheer for as much as 3,000 feet from the riverbed. There's a little shrine where people go to worship. It's a little steep to get up there, but it's be beautiful once you were there, I'm sure. You can see the religious figures in the shrine and the little ladder that people use. Look at these. Look at these rock formations. They look like wild mushrooms, and they are nothing like anything alongside of them. And here we go. There's pictures of, not pictures, sculptures of the heroes who fought in this part of Mexico many years ago. And there's the dam, and here a waterfowl of all kinds. You can see ducks and pelicans, and there's the pelican. His beak can hold more than his belly can, see? We have probably some alligators here pretty soon. I don't know, we'll see. This is a very typical little restaurant, a little fish restaurant. It says, "Welcome to the tourist restaurant Nancy with economical prices," which right here alongside of the wonderful river that we were just on, the Grijalva, in the canyon, only it's opened up out here. And it's very pleasant to spend time here and watch the river and eat our lunch. Fish that just came out of the river is called mojarra, M-O-J-A-R-R-A, and it's delicious. In case you had any question about where we are, we're in the state of Chiapas, and this lovely lady is all done up in the Chiapa costume. It's right here in this restaurant called Nancy. See the scene here alongside of the river. A few little typical restaurants, much like the one that we just ate in. And it's where the locals come to play and fish. And that fish could not have been better. Could not. I just emphasize, could not. We're in Chiapa del Corso, one of the two oldest towns in Chiapas. And this is a colonial building, obviously, this wonderful salmon-colored building. And inside is a lacquerware museum. There's a beautiful fountain, great big wonderful tree. It's all very romantic in here, and we'll walk inside and see what they have in the Lacquerware Museum. In this beautiful colonial courtyard, I think maybe that's all we're going to see. We thought we were going to see the museum, but I think we got skunked and it's closed. For a special occasion, I don't know, it looks like the musicians are setting up over there. But whatever's going on, it's still beautiful to be here. Another view of this gorgeous courtyard with the little village church behind, very typical of many parts of Mexico. They all look like they were fashioned out of clay for kids to play with, but they're real churches for people to pray in. Here are pieces of old frescoes painted on the wall of the original convent, which was built in the 16th century, the middle of the 16th century, 1554, I think they said. And then, of course, it's been restored, but there's some beautiful pieces that have been restored and retained in this building. And here are some crafts in the making. Wood carvers, young men spending their time not hanging around the pool hall, but carving beautiful crafts that will be for sale in the museum in the store of this museum. Just lovely. This is the authentic Chiapas costume on this model. Can you imagine how many hours it took to make those roses and pictures? I'd buy one and bring it home and model it for you all, but oh well, next time maybe. These old buildings, the portales they're called, the portals to keep people out of the sun, not so much the rain, but the sun, were built, and now they're filled with craft shops. You can go from one to another and buy sort of whatever turns you on. This is a very ancient style called mudejar, after ancient Spanish, and it's the fountain, the central fountain in the main square of this lovely little town. Standing here in the shop that is in front of the Museum of Artisanias, of the craftspeople from all over the state of Chiapas. You see how beautiful the pottery is, so we'll walk inside and examine the museum for a minute, and then maybe we'll come back out here and buy something. How's that? Now you get an idea of what you're looking at for Chiapas. It's this very mountainous region down here close to Guatemala, and all the little towns, the little red dots, have ethnic groups of small Indian tribes, I guess we would call them in the United States. Some of them I've never heard of, but they're almost down here on the Guatemala border, and many of them high in the hills. But we're going to just see some of their handcrafts. We're not going to visit all the villages, unfortunately.
My name is Isabel. I am from here, from Chiapas, and I'm working in the office tourist.
In the tourist office, and Isabel is going to tell us just a little bit about this tribe that's, as you can see, the men are very fancy clothing, and the women do all the work, it looks like, and this guy looks like a chief of the village. Is that right? How do you pronounce that tribe?
Zetales.
Zetales. Well, you could have fooled me. It's all T's and Z's, and we're not used to that kind of language, but this is kind of typical of an inside of an old-fashioned home. Isabel? Okay, you want to tell us about this one? This is another tough jawbreaker, but a very typical kind of old-fashioned costume that they are wearing. Come over here and tell us about it.
Sinacantan.
Tell us again, the name.
Sinacantan. This is the town, Sinacantan.
And where is it?
He is near to San Cristobal. He's in the center of the state. It's a typical town.
And tomorrow, hopefully, we will be going to San Cristobal. So stick with us, guys. We're going to see a lot of good things to come. And these metal crafts are typical of San Cristobal. These are, of course, in the museum. I don't know that we're going to see any as fine as that, but we're sure going to take a good hard look. And this is really an experience here in Chiapas. I'm sure you'd all love it if you were here. We are loving it. This is the way people represent themselves at festival time. A man is a jaguar, which is a revered symbol in this part of Mexico. Now we've moved to the Marimba Park, where the bands play marimba music 2 or 3 nights a week. People come here, people of all ages, just to enjoy the music and even to dance. We'll have some marimba music for you. You can see how intent they are on playing this beautiful music. And it's in a lovely pavilion, and it's just a wonderful place for families to congregate. Great use of government money. See the people enjoying the concert, people just in this lovely, lovely park. And then here are some folks dancing over there in the background. Believe me, they enjoy themselves. The weather is balmy, a little warmer than balmy actually. And here's a grandfather and granddaughter. Are they having fun? We're at the Hotel Bonampak in the heart of, I just always laugh at it because I used to see Tuxtla Gutierrez every place in the airport, and now I'm here. And this is deep in the heart of Maya country. See what the Mayans looked like in the olden days, and you know if you look at people now in profile, to this day, they look exactly the same. It's a very strong culture. Very beautiful and very beautiful people. This is the big market, the Market Los Ancianos in Tuxtla Gutierrez. And I want you to see there are 2 kinds of drugstores in Mexico. One is the very contemporary, really modern, that has every packaged pharmaceutical that we have in the States at considerably less prices. And then we have this kind. This is for your prostate and your kidneys and all kinds of other things that you might be sick from. And there are these herbs for stomach aches and so forth. Now this is the coming wave, it seems, in the United States, but they've been using this in Mexico all along. Everything's up to date in Tuxtla. And no, you're always being warned against these things, but there are ways to purify fruits and vegetables in Mexico, and look how gorgeous they are. If you take care, you eat in the right places, or you wash them yourself, you never have a bit of problem, at least I don't. Is this beautiful produce or what? These are, where there are Mexicans, there are sweets. And what are these? Hupape. I don't know what they are, but they look good, and all the piñatas around. It's a very festive scene. Wonderful. You get a feeling and a flavor of Mexico. We'll go to the Regional Museum of Chiapas next and see what they have in way of surprises for us. Well, I said we were going into the museum, but as you can see, there's a little labor dispute. They call it a huelga, and we call it a strike. So, guys, we're just going to have to look at the beautiful building from the outside and know that it happens in the United States, too. So, let's go on to the next place. And across from the museum, since we couldn't get in there, we walked over to see this beautiful contemporary theater that's also part of this government complex. They do some.
And, you know, there are football fans down here like crazy. Look, it isn't only in the U.S. that they wear these, and they wear them the right way, backwards. This is the San Marcos Cathedral, sort of like in Venice. Well, not quite, but it does have the Venetian lion up above the door, and it has a beautiful bell tower that will ring at 2 o'clock. The bell tower has some special equipment from Germany, and all the apostles start moving as the bells begin to ring. Hopefully we'll get to see it. Well, now the bells are beginning, and let the show begin when it gets ready, I guess. It's 2 o'clock.
There they will be.
Here they come, the apostles, on their way. Really charming. It's like the church in Munich. They have a much bigger one than this, but this is lovely. And all the more interesting because it's in Mexico with German mechanics in a church that is named for San Marco and is in Venice as well. We're here in the museum of Sergio Castro. Senor Castro is here,
Yes.
and he speaks some English. I'm going to ask him to explain just a little bit about how he started the collection of all these wonderful costumes of the Maya.
Yes, all the different races is the Maya people. And each ethnic group, you know, they have the dresses, his village, the same protector, and one special work. For example, Chamula, very special dresses. Sinacantan, the pink costume. For example, this costume we have on this side, this is from Magdalenas. It's 25 kilometers after Chamula to east to San Cristobal.
That's high, high in the mountains, I guess. Difficult to get to. San Cristobal, we came from the capital of Tuxtla, up in the mountains, through the clouds, and back down again a little bit.
Exactly. Tuxtla, you know, is 500 meters. San Cristobal, 2,100 meters.
This is about 7,500 feet, more or less. Okay, let's go look at some other things, shall we?
Yes, sure.
And these things behind us?
Yeah, this is coming from Chenalo, the same at 25 kilometers after San Juan Chamula. And you see this horn is closed. The Indian to use them to keep inside the Indian brandy, the distillation sugarcane.
Sugarcane brandy. Oh, I didn't realize they drank hard spirits. They do, I gather. And this is a handbag used for what?
Bueno, to use them for, you know, for to keep inside cigarettes, money.
Cigarettes! Please, forget that you heard that. Thank you. Evidently, Sergio started his work here in the highlands. Well, I guess the Lacandones are low, though, aren't they? They're not in the highlands, too, are they? But
He lived in the jungle, The small group. Today, they are only 800 Lacandones.
they're a very primitive tribe who hunt with bows and arrows. They're the most beautiful people, and here are some of their art crafts. Some pottery made by Lacandones. Here, if you can see it, is a picture of a Lacandon girl. Oh, here are the arrows. I have some in my house that I bought from Lacandones at Palenque. But there's no poison on these, is there?
Oh boy.
Okay.
Only for the tourists.
Only for the Well, it's been fascinating being here. Thank you for sharing this wonderful place with us.
Thank you, madam.
Also in the museum are these wonderful examples of ancient antique santos, carvings done by the Indians for their religion. It's Catholic, of course, but their own Mayan interpretation. They're very, very beautiful. Standing in a very typical market in San Cristobal de las Casas, about 10,000 feet in the south of Mexico, on almost on the border of Guatemala, and people are buying all kinds of, see these red beans? I never saw those before in my life. And beautiful scrubbed potatoes, all flowers, is everything here. And people in their native costumes from the various villages come to sell their fruits and vegetables on the weekend, and flowers and crafts. They have round zucchini as well as long zucchini, and look at those zucchini flowers. We turn those into most exquisite appetizers, fried flores de calabaza. And we will, one of these days, make some for you back in Philadelphia. Don't you wish you could come and taste? Tomatoes and strawberries, the most gorgeous sweet strawberries you can imagine. And red onions and chilies, of course, chilies, everything. But everything is so colorful and so beautiful, including the people who sell it. Acres of beautiful flowers, only they're not growing in the ground, they're just here in the market. The people are selling them, nursing their babies, carrying chickens. It's a very, very colorful sight, not just in terms of color, but in terms of local color. You can buy tomatoes at any price. If they're a little bit smashed up, they're 2 pesos a kilo. That's, my goodness, 32 cents. That's about 15 cents a pound. Well, I guess we can make a lot of tomato sauce here. Just in case there's any question about what kind of meat is being sold at this market stall, well, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pig heads. Boy, that would make one good mess of pozole, at least in our house, or maybe even for a restaurant. Pozole, by the way, is a hominy stew. It's delicious. I make it at home occasionally. Cook in. Here are the kind that are used every day in the homes. Not in the homes in Mexico City necessarily, but in the homes in the outlying villages. And food tastes wonderful in them, and they're so decorative to use for flowers and everything else. I just love all this red pottery. This is the oldest church in San Cristobal. It's Santa Dominica, built by the Dominican priests about 1521, very, very early. Now, why do you think the Spanish chose to settle here? It's the only decent climate in the whole area. It is just, it's overcast today, but it's cool and lovely, and as opposed to being down closer to the water where it's hot, hot, hot. This is the SNA, Holobil, cooperative of weavers, and these various women are outside selling their wares from all the various villages around the area, dolls and pottery and just beautiful things, and as I said before, beautiful people.
We're in the very traditional village of Chimula, outside of San Cristobal. They refuse to let you have their pictures of the people, just a little bit of the church on the outside, but nothing inside, where there are fascinating rituals.
We're in the home of Pascuala, one of the great weavers of Sinacanton. And you can see here a typical wedding dress that's made for the people in this area. A lovely woman just picked up some things. Look at these woven things, are absolutely beautiful. And just because every house in this area needs a blessing, combination of its own style of Mayan and Catholic, these houses have shrines, and you can see where many of the flowers are used. This is Pascuala.
Yo me llamo Pascuala Vázquez Hernández.
She is one of the famous weavers from this small town of Sinacantan. Sinacantan. And we'll look at some of her beautiful weavings in a minute, and some of her family all working here in this backyard in very typical fashion. Little children, older people, handsome men in the costume of the village, and the huipils, the women wear the same huipil for this village of Sinacantan. We're inside of Nabolom, which means the House of the Jaguar, in San Cristobal. We're back in San Cristobal. And this is a museum that was started by a woman by the name of Trudy Blom, who lived with the Lacandones, the most primitive of the jungle Indians. And she got to learn their language and so forth. And this whole place was her home, and it has been erected as a kind of museum for all the Lacandon artifacts. Oh, and it's raining. Never rains here? Yes, it does once in a while, and that's why it's so green and beautiful. Now you've been to that remote and beautiful part of Mexico called Chiapas. And you've seen what the people live like and how they comport themselves and what they dress like. And I know one of these days you'll want to get there yourselves, maybe even together. This is Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter, saying, till next time, bye.